Welcome to the show, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Excited about the show, excited about my guest. Really, just a really intriguing story that came out of Missouri earlier. Well, I learned about it earlier this week, but it happened before. But he's going to go into the details on that. But long story short, I saw a story posted by the Gateway Pundit the other day, and it involved a man who had detained an illegal immigrant that was committing some crimes, right? So being a good citizen, he detained him and held him for authorities to get there, and videotaped it. Well, later the authorities released the illegal immigrants, and lo and behold, he goes out and commits more crime, and we'll get into that. But it went viral because people are sick of hearing this story. They're sick of these criminals being let loose on the streets, the Department of Justice not doing the correct thing and holding them, deporting them, whatever the case may be, letting these guys loose on the streets only for them to commit more crimes. It doesn't make any sense, and people are sick of it. And so that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. I got my friend Shane, who's also a veteran, coming on stage. He was the actual person from the video, so you can hear it straight from his mouth. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, post them up in the chat. That way we can bring them on stage if they're relevant, and you can ask them directly to Shane. So without further ado, welcome Shane. Hey man, thanks for doing this tonight.
Hey, no problem, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you doing this. Especially, I appreciate you being a good citizen and stopping this dude. I appreciate you. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did, because you're a good person and you care about your community, and it was the right thing to do. And then just to be completely let down by authorities afterwards it sucks. And people are tired of it, and I think that's a lot of the reason why this story went viral. And it's just, people are sick of this crap, sick of them getting loose on the streets, sick of them being not seeing justice. And imagine if you were breaking into cars or something like that, you'd probably be in jail, right now. So
if not shot with where we're at.
Yeah. Well, why was this guy just let go free? So I can actually bring the video on here so we can actually see what we're talking about and get everybody on the same sheet of music. I'm going to bring this up, and then we can talk about it afterwards, if that's cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So we're just going to play this video. Just chill. Police are gonna be here soon. I don't speak fucking Spanish, big guy. You know what I speak? Breaking into cars and stealing shit and getting caught. Pendejo?
No English.
You're lucky you met me today and not 3 years ago.
Spanish, bro.
Spanish, I know we're in
Yeah,
America.
but no problem for
we
you,
speak
bro.
English here, dude.
Not a problem for you.
Ain't a problem for me either. I got all that.
Not a problem for you, bro.
Why don't you do yourself a
It's
little
okay.
favor and be quiet?
Watch.
Watch what?
You
know what I'm
video,
watching right
video. It's okay.
I know it's okay.
Watch, policia.
Police are coming.
Yeah,
and then you're
watch
gonna. Have you ever heard of ICE? Because you're gonna be meeting ICE.
Nothing nice.
You got an I-5.
Police,
You got an I-551
Watch,
card.
police.
You got an
Me
I-551
traen
card.
agarrado a la verga.
Yeah. Okay.
Mira,
Take this shit back. Where are you from?
mi mano,
Mi
¿cómo
mano,
traen?
blah, blah.
Tengo abogado a la verga.
And how appropriate is it? I'm wearing my definitely
Yeah,
not
the
a thug
property,
shirt.
este pendejo me agarró a la verga.
Yeah, talk that
Me
bullshit.
trae allí a la verga.
You want to talk that bullshit when I put you up
I
against the
don't
wall?
know.
No way in hell. Ain't no way.
You don't take things that aren't yours.
You're lucky that wasn't my car.
Hell, we ain't in that.
We wouldn't be waiting for the police. We'd
I
be
lock
waiting for
my-
a fucking
I lock
ambulance.
my doors all the time.
So do I.
La policía a la verga.
The policia are
Yeah,
coming.
for me.
Oh yeah, they coming for you,
Yes,
big guy.
okay, for me, policía.
Nobody's hurting you.
Yes, okay.
You're being
For
videoed
me.
right by the guy that's holding you.
Watch, mi hair.
Nope, stay against
Oh,
that wall. Stay
fuck
against
you.
that wall. Fuck me. Okay.
You know that much.
Hey,
English?
brother, mira guacha.
I hope you like the food at ICE. You know ICE?
Oh,
Oh
brother.
yeah. Yeah,
For me.
you're about to get chilled by ICE, big guy.
Yes, okay. Nothing brother for
You keep talking that shit.
the people, oh no. Mi family is okay.
Your family's fine.
Yeah, mi family is okay. No, not a problem him. Pero en him, oh no.
Damn, I bet you weren't
It's
expecting me
okay,
to come
it's
out and
okay.
find all that.
Mi family is okay. Little. Oh no, bro. It's okay.
You
What?
fucked with the wrong group of people, dummy.
No
You're lucky
problem.
Mary didn't catch you.
I'd have been over a fucking yes hard.
Don't stay there. I mean, real nice right now.
Probably about 30 minutes ago.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's me.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's me brother.
Oh, maybe
You
I
police?
checked mine.
It's
My
okay.
car's fine.
You police?
Police are coming.
Yeah, you police.
I'm not police. You know
Oh.
what that means?
Capture.
That That if you do some dumb shit, I can fight back.
Fucking. You capturation. You too.
Chill. That looks like this. Is
You
that the
too.
police?
Capturation, boy.
Here come the police.
Not mejor police for
Stay
me.
right there.
Yeah, police for me.
Police for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
police.
All right. So yeah, I mean, good job on you for getting that dude, honestly, and I mean, doing your part or whatever, going above and beyond. But yeah, just a real letdown, and you can go into the details on that. But thanks for doing that, Shane. Honestly.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Watching that video really pisses me off in hindsight because you see, when I mentioned ICE, you saw the look on his face, and then you hear him saying, "Not ICE police." And he repeatedly says that, "Not ICE police," because he freaking knew that if the police showed up, he'd probably get let go because he's probably been through it before.
Right.
So that was extremely frustrating.
Right. So set the stage. Like how did this start? You know, you guys were at a bar, right? And you saw him doing, like, he's breaking into cars, right? That's how it started.
Yeah, so I shoot a Monday pool league at this bar in a town that I can't believe he did this in, High Ridge, Missouri. So we're shooting pool, and one of the ladies went out to her car to get her purse, and then there was a guy in it. So, you know, she screams, and me and a couple other guys come out, and this guy's out there exiting the vehicle. and he was wearing like sweatpants, and he'd actually came in the bar about half an hour before that, and he looked fairly normal. Well, when he was in that parking lot, the owners and everybody were like, empty your pockets, because he had big bulges in his pockets in his backpack, and he was trying to leave playing that he didn't speak English cards. So I got in front of him, and I was like, no, big guy, you're going to empty your pockets. And, he's like, no English, no English. I was like, dude, universal language is about to happen here. Empty your pockets. But I definitely used vulgarities when I said that. When I said that, he tried to elbow me and hit me, and I grabbed him by his arm and I threw him against the wall, and I started ripping everything out of his pockets and backpacks as people are telling me what they're missing. Well, everything that was missing from vehicles was coming out of his pockets and his backpack. So then a couple of the people at that time, there were probably 30 people in that parking lot watching. I mean, you can hear them in the background of the video. They're like, we're calling the police. I was like, okay, call the police. And the owners of the bar, they're like, just don't hurt him, whatever. And so I'm holding him, and he starts saying, there was one guy that kind of spoke Spanish before that video started. He started saying that you're hurting me, you're assaulting me, stuff like that. That's when I started that video. So then deputies arrived, and normally in a situation like that I've seen, when police arrive, they're like, let him go, we'll take care of it. Well, that didn't happen here. They pulled up, they got out of their car, and I was like, I'm assuming you don't want me to let him go. And they're like, no, keep holding him. So I'm holding him against the wall for a couple minutes while deputies are there, and they come up and start talking to him. Now I'm still holding this guy. And they're like, are you going to be calm? Are you going to fight? Because as soon as he saw the cops, when I stopped that video, he started trying to fight. So I told the cops, for your safety, you should cuff him. And they did. And once they took positive control of him, I was like, I want to talk to you guys when you're done, handling this. And they're like, okay, go inside the bar and wait. We'll come and get you when we're ready to take your statement. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go inside the bar. It's my pool league. I keep doing my thing. After about half an hour, friends come up to me and they're like, Shane, I thought that they were going to talk to you. And I was like, yeah, they told me to wait in here. Well, it turns out they just left. So I reached out to the number 2 in charge of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department the next day to get a status on what was going on. And a couple days later, I was told that nobody wanted to prosecute, that he wasn't being prosecuted, and that he was on a mental health hold. And I was like, well, what the hell is going on here? Like, I wanted to prosecute. When they left, I figured they had everything they needed. The people called the police. In Missouri, I've spoken with an attorney. In Missouri, with an incident like that, if victims don't want to press charges, the state can become the plaintiff, and it's on the deputies, along with, even taking out that they didn't talk to me because I would have pushed for assault charges. That would have been enough to hold him, properly ID him, find out he had an ICE detainer, and prevent anything else from happening. Well, that didn't happen. Sorry, I'm getting frustrated with this. Like, I'm starting to shake. I'm getting pissed. So that didn't happen. Well, it kind of goes out of my mind because I think he's on a mental health hold and they're going to figure out who he is. I didn't realize he was released the same night. So then you go to not this past Friday, but the Friday before, I'm driving into St. Louis on I-64 to go to a friend's birthday party. And I get a text message of screenshots of all the court documents I posted showing that guy was released, and he walked into a massage parlor 400 feet from where I detained him, went in, said he needed a massage, dropped his pants, beat the masseuse, tried to rape her. The only reason he was unable to rape him, by his statement, which you can get on case.net Missouri, you can type in his name, it'll pull up everything, docket entries, charges, step by step. So I pull over on the side of 64 and I start reading it, and I have a strong stomach. I don't puke. I had to get out of my car and puke. So at that point, I texted the Jefferson County undersheriff, and I was like, hey, bro, what's up with this? And he texted me back. He's like, is that the same guy? I was like, yeah, because I sent him all the court documents. And about 5 minutes later, he called me on the phone, and I told him, and he's like, the victims didn't want to prosecute. Nobody wanted to prosecute. And that's when I told him, I told deputies I wanted to speak with them. I was the one, I don't understand how I'm the one that was physically detaining this guy and handing him off to cops and nobody took a statement from me at all, even though I made it clear I wanted that to happen. So while I'm on the phone with him, and he's a friend of mine, I have the utmost respect for this man. I don't blame this on him. I don't think it was anything to do with him, for the record. And I call it how I see it. If I thought it was, I would say it. So I'm talking to him on the phone and I'm like, yeah, they never talked to me. And he's like, what do you mean they didn't talk to you? And I was like, Tim, they never spoke with me. And you know, because I would have pressed charges. And he's like, well, let me call Dave, the sheriff, and we'll get our people on this. So then I don't hear anything about it. You know, I chit chat. That was Friday. Saturday, I chit chat with Tim, and I get a picture of what happened, and then I don't think about it. Well, going to 3 or 4 days later, last Thursday, you know, I'd post that original video on Facebook before the second thing happened, and it went viral. Well, last Thursday, I get a text that the Gateway Pundit had done a story about it and taken my video and all that stuff, along with everything else that happened from my Facebook post. So all of a sudden, this starts going absolutely insanely viral. That's where my brother had put us in contact. I guess you guys follow each other on X, and then we talked. So Saturday morning, I reached out to the Jefferson County Sheriff, the elected sheriff, Dave, and I shot him a message with screenshots saying, you know, this story's getting twisted. I did not attack the police on this or, you know, any of that stuff. You know, I support you guys. I just want to give you a heads up that this is going viral nationally so you guys can address it. Dave then messaged me back. This is on Facebook Messenger. And he said, I'm getting my people on it right now. I'm going to find out what happened and we're going to, you know, make a statement. So I'm like, okay, awesome. You know, I feel like a ball was dropped. A lot of people do when you look at that press release and comments. I feel like a deputy made a mistake. A ball was dropped. I mean, you took him to a hospital and dropped him off. And what the department says is because he was highly intoxicated and there was a language barrier. I think the language barrier is an excuse. I know a lot of law enforcement departments that use apps and Google Translate and things of that nature. So Saturday, I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm thinking, you know, they're going to address this, and it's going to be taken care of. And then about 9 p.m., I get sent the press release, which I sent you, basically stating that a citizen lawfully detained him, that none of the victims wanted to press charges, and absent of me wanting to press charges, but then not speaking to me, putting that to the side, from how I understand it, at that point, he's committing crimes. He's admitted to committing crimes. What was stolen had been found on him, and he was apparently highly intoxicated, so they took him to a hospital. I mean, you can't hold him on disorderly conduct, drunk or disorderly, or talk to me so I can press assault charges. Then in the press release, it goes on to say he gave a false identity, and that identity had no warrants or ICE detainers. So then you fast forward to last Thursday when, you know, this all happened, where he walked in the massage parlor, assaulted that woman, you know, tried to rape her. He couldn't get it up, was what the statement says, and the probable cause statement says, because he was intoxicated and high again. So he was going to rape her. He virtually did. He just couldn't, you know, whatever. And the husband walks in and stops him, and then, you know, police picks him back up. I feel like the press statement made by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, and I've been struggling over this for the last 3 or 4 days. I didn't know what I was going to say here because I've had thousands of people reach out to me. I got a fairly big account on Facebook, and I have a fairly large radio show as well. And then earlier today, after we talked this morning, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know, if this was anywhere else in the U.S. that this happened, how would I proceed? And how I would proceed was telling what happened. I feel like the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department release that they put out on Saturday evening had more to do with dodging liability than the truth. And why I'm saying dodging liabilities, if it comes out that deputies made a mistake, which I feel they did, by not speaking to me, by just dropping this guy off at a hospital, or whatever, and then allowing him to walk in and assault that lady and traumatize her, I think that at the end she's going to sue the Jefferson County Police Department. I think that they know that. So
Yeah.
I mean, you read this. I sent you the statement. I don't know if you read it, but that's how it felt to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I were her, I would. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. There's so many failures in that chain of events, right? They already knew about him. He had an ICE detainer, right? He should have been detained like
Well,
or
their reasoning was that he gave a false identity, and there was a
right.
language barrier.
Right, but how did ICE know about him in the first place, right? They knew who this guy was. There's
Well,
something.
no, they didn't know until they arrested him at the second incident the following week when he
Okay.
assaulted that lady. So
Yeah.
when he assaulted and tried to rape that lady, that's when they took him into custody, and that same day had his real identity. Now they hadn't stated that he was on an ICE detainer, but I called somebody I know over at ICE that I was in the Army with, so I knew, and I let both them know that he was. They hadn't said anything until they put out the press release on Saturday, this past Saturday, a couple
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah, but the thing is too is like there's so many failures. Like if I was breaking into cars, right? If I got caught breaking into cars, somebody detained me or whatever, there's no way that I'm getting out that night. Like I'm at least going to spend a few days in jail, right? Until I see a judge or whatever, until they figure out the bond or something like that's what should happen. I'm just speaking to just loosely of what
Yeah,
should have
well,
happened.
and this is a deep red county, and I moved here when I was about 8 years old. I was here until I left for the Army. Then I moved back here when I was done. And through my whole life, what I've seen in instances like this where people say, I don't want to press charges, the sheriff deputy step in and say, well, it's not on you anymore. We're going to. And that's what I've seen repeatedly. And I've seen drunk people that were white and spoke English that didn't have ID be detained until they could be positively ID'd. Now, this guy was without a doubt committing crimes. That was admitted to. There were 30 witnesses. The items that were stolen were on him. Two people that had the vehicles told the deputies that, yeah, he's broken and stole. I wasn't out there when they said they didn't want to press charges, which is crazy to me. I don't know if they were talked into that, like it wouldn't be worth it or whatever, because the people that didn't press charges are the people that called the sheriff and said the police department said that they were gonna.
Yeah.
However, that's speculation. I wasn't there for that conversation, but I have seen conversations like that happen in the past to where they're like, well, it was just a couple packs of cigarettes, or it was just this or that. It's not really worth it or whatever.
Yeah.
But like
And
you said, it was cascading failures one after another that allowed this poor lady to have that happen to her.
right, and correct me if I'm wrong too. He had a knife too, like when he was breaking into the cars and stuff. Like he threatened people with a knife.
No, so he had a knife in his backpack. Whenever I grabbed him, he was reaching into his backpack. I started flinging shit. Like I started flinging stuff out of his backpack. It wasn't like a slowly taking stuff out of his pockets. I was throwing shit behind me as I was moving him to the wall. So Mike and Brian, the guys that own this bar, were like, damn, Shane. And they're picking up everything I'm throwing because I'm moving him 15 feet towards the wall. At the same time, I am emptying everything he has.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
it makes sense because why wait for him to pull a gun or why wait for him to pull a knife on you or something like that. He's already committing crimes, right? So
yeah.
he's already
And there's no question about that. It's not like maybe he was, maybe he wasn't.
right.
He absolutely was. There were more than enough witnesses. He had everything that everybody told me what they were missing before I started emptying his pockets. So either they had a crystal ball that told them what was in this guy's pockets. And like I said, he briefly came to the bar earlier that night. I would have noticed big bulging pockets, That's stuff that I noticed. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's I appreciate you expanded upon this because it's been reposted and stuff, and not the correct story has been people have posted about it or whatever, and they don't really have it right. So people need to hear the correct details from you directly.
Yeah, like I've seen a lot of big accounts on social media, and like I messaged Terrence K. Williams. He's has 4 or 5 million people on there. Somehow this story warped into what it is to now. There's a screenshot of me holding this guy against the wall with the caption, saying, "Homeowner catches Latino man breaking into homes and holds them at his house, and he was let go because St. Louis is a sanctuary city. Well, my house is 30 minutes. Where we were at is 30 minutes from St. Louis, and Jefferson County, Missouri is, I mean, as red as it gets, like politically, ideologically. I mean, we are a solid red county. I don't know if we've ever elected a Democrat here for anything, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see your brother popped in here too. I'll add him to the stage. He doesn't have video on right now, but can you hear us, Brandon?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, welcome to the stage. Yeah, we were just going through the incident with Shane, and I originally, when I posted that or whatever, Brandon was the one that said that, hey, that's my brother or whatever, and knew more about the situation, and kind of that's how we linked up. And I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, when I saw you post it, I was like, hey, that's cool. That's my brother. And then I'm like, oh, hey, me and you follow each other. That makes this easy for communication. And then I saw American Papa Bear also posted it, and we both follow each other too. So I messaged him, and I haven't really seen anyone else. I think your post probably got the most views on X of the ones I've seen of it.
Yeah, well, originally it started taking off on its own. Like, I didn't have any big reposts, and it was just going viral on its own. Just small accounts were grabbing onto it, and then I had some big accounts reposted after it gained some traction. But people are intrigued by the story because they're sick of it. They're tired of seeing the same story over and over again. Like I said, with the Irina Zarutska, with there was one in New York City where a guy he burned down a building or whatever, and now Mamdami's like protecting him or whatever. Like there's so many cases like this, and Missouri is a state where sanctuary cities are outlawed, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but St. Louis has declared themselves a sanctuary city, but Missouri has outlawed that within your state legislature, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, in Missouri, we have outlawed sanctuary status. I'm not exactly sure how St. Louis kind of skirts it, but I know they do. So, yeah. And I'm sorry I don't have my video on. I literally just got off work, and I'm wearing my work logo and stuff. And I keep my employer detached from my social medias because I'm very political. And my Facebook, back in 2020, my prior employer was still listed on it. And someone contacted my prior employer like, I'm never going to do business with you again because Brandon Wilkinson is on there and he's a racist, And my old employer and me, my old boss, we're buddies. So he messaged me, and I'm like, oh, I better go remove that crap, So sorry I can't have my video on right now.
No worries at all. And there was a comment on YouTube. If there was evidence of a crime, the agency is liable to take him into custody until a full investigation could be conducted, which is exactly what I said. I don't see how they just let him go. And Brandon or Shane was talking about that too.
I think it was Monday night. It was 11 p.m. and they just didn't want to deal with it, so they went and dropped him off at a hospital.
Yeah, that's just crazy because he should have been deported. B, he should have been at least booked for the crime that he was committing. He was drunk.
At a minimum, disorderly conduct.
Yeah,
that's enough to hold him.
Right.
Yeah, and where we're at, Jefferson County we have an excellent sheriff's department. I'm very proud of our law enforcement here.
Same here.
My brother and I are both friends with the sheriff and undersheriff, and this isn't them that failed, but that deputy made a serious mistake that probably has traumatized this woman.
Not probably. I've spoken with her
fiance.
She's traumatized.
And the guy's lucky her fiance didn't beat him to death, because if that was my wife, I'd have killed the guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy, and it's so unnecessary too. He should have been held for multiple reasons, and he should have been really looked at for deportation. Shouldn't have been here in the first place. So, and then now she's got to deal with that trauma for the rest of her life. It's absolutely ridiculous, and people are sick of it.
Yeah, like I said, that's why it's been a struggle that I haven't spoke on this. Like I said, I have kind of a large Facebook account and then a radio show and all that. And that was gut wrenching when I saw that press release on Saturday. Because, like my brother said, uh, we know the sheriff and undersheriff very well. They're friends of ours. You know, I've had them on my show, both of them. I go to their political events and fundraisers and charities and all that stuff. Like I said, I don't know for sure what happened other than what I was there for. And I know I told the deputies that I wanted to speak to him. I know that they had what they needed to hold that guy, even without speaking to me. Especially if they thought that he needed to go to a hospital, you know, I think that was an easy out. I think that the sheriff and under sheriff, who are more of management, managing, budgets and all that stuff. They're relying on the people under them to supervise the people that are under their supervisors. And I almost feel what happened was when I spoke with him on the phone and I told him that I told the deputies I wanted to talk to him this and that maybe the deputy that I said that to said that he didn't hear it, even though he 100% did, or something along those lines. So now the sheriff and the sheriff and the under sheriff and all that are having to go with what their deputies are saying on the ground. That's why I kind of said that press release was heartbreaking, because in my head, this guy was physically detaining him. He continued to detain him. He detained them while deputies arrived until deputies took positive control, which took a couple minutes because they were talking to him while I was still physically restraining him because he had started to try to fight. I told them I wanted to speak with them. They just left, dropped the guy off at a hospital. And at that point, I got to be like, what the hell?
Right.
And nobody knew that this was going to happen. Nobody knew they were going to let this guy go and that he was going to walk in and assault and try to rape an innocent woman. Nobody knew that was going to happen. But I feel that it was 100% preventable, that
Yeah.
it should not have happened.
I agree. And, I was listening. I couldn't come in until I got off work, but I was listening. And I heard my brother tell you guys, tell the audience that, he has a pretty strong stomach. And when he got told that, he pulled over on 64 and puking. My brother called me after that happened, And the thing is, so for those of you out there that don't know who my brother is, and he won't like me saying this, but he's a very highly decorated combat veteran. He has 3 years of combat deployments. He has Bronze Star for Valor, Purple Heart. I mean, when he wears his blues, he's stacked with medals, okay? He served in the Korengal Valley, Afghanistan, KOP, and Korengal Outpost, and saw combat like every other day for his entire tour there. Out of his platoon, I think it was 13 men came back. So, like, he is seeing stuff that most people cannot imagine. So when he told me that it hit him so hard that he had to pull over and puke on the shoulder, I was like, just wow, And I was really upset by it too. But I can only imagine with him having caught the guy, handing him over the police, the weight that he feels on it just so much more.
Yeah, and thank you for your service too. You were at
Back
Keating?
at you, brother.
You were at Keating?
No, I was actually, my guys built the Korengal Valley Outpost starting in mid 2006 through June 2007. We handed it off to the guys that did the film Restrepo and all that stuff, the
Yeah.
173rd.
Right. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
there in 08, flying medevac. So I was down to Keating a bunch of times or whatever. And
Yeah, we were in that AO in the Konar, but I specifically did the vast majority of my time in the Korengal Valley right when it first was established through mid 2007. By 2008, I would have been in Iraq.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's another, testament to your character too, and why, why you did this or whatever. It's, you're a good dude and care about your community, care about your country too.
Right now on a show.
Damn, Brandon, mute your mic.
Hang on, I'm trying.
I can do it. I'll just mute him for a second and I'll bring him back up on. So yeah, no, it's a true testament to your character. Thank you for your service, obviously, and
Well, back at you, brother. So
yeah, and thank you for doing this because it highlights a bigger problem, right? We just cannot just allow this stuff to keep happening in our country, right? Especially when Republicans are in charge. Like if we can't get this under control when we hold the Department of Justice, when we have President Trump here, my God, if a liberal ever gets, back in presidency or whatever, like they're just going to open the floodgates again. And this is only going to get worse.
And I think that the Republicans are getting it under control. I think where the problem comes in, there's always going to be a Brandon.
Yeah.
You dig. There's always going to be a funnel. They let so many people flood in that there's no insta fix. But I've seen stories of all over the country of stuff like this happening and people just watching. Outside of law enforcement, if we as Americans want this to stop, when we see it, we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
We can't turn the other cheek. And I get not everybody's built for it, and you might be scared. But there's a lot of people I've seen in these videos, you take Lincoln Riley, whatever, that people could have interjected and stopped what was happening, and they just chose to video instead. Now, I videoed after I had the situation under control,
Right.
But at the end of the day, what's the average police per capita in the U.S.? What is it? One for every 4,000 or 5,000 people. There's one law enforcement officer, something like that. So we, the people, have to fix the freaking problem when we're given the opportunity. And I would have rather that not happened. I would have rather that Pool League didn't get interrupted. I would have rather that woman not get traumatized. I would have rather that like I said, I'm not saying for sure that the Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy dropped the ball, but that is my opinion. My opinion is they did. We have to police our communities as responsible Americans. If you're not physically, I'm a bigger guy, you're a bigger guy, and, we did the military thing and all that. Even if it's getting a CCW license or carrying a taser or pepper spray or some kind of equalizer to where you can step in and delay a bad situation until the right people can show up.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, if anything else, the Missouri as a whole takes a look at this and says we can't allow this to happen again. Like these were the mistakes. Like hopefully the AR, just like we did in the Army or whatever, and they're like, this cannot happen again. We cannot have massage therapists or whatever like getting attacked or whatever when we clearly had this guy. We clearly should have held him. We should have been in contact with ICE to try and get this guy out of here. You can't just be letting guys go when they're out committing crimes and just looking the other way and allowing the hospital to make the decision to let him go. Like that's not the way this should happen. That's
ludicrous. That's absolutely.
If I was told that this happened by our sheriff's department, I would not believe it. But it did happen. So I'm blown away by this. I agree with pretty much everything my brother just said about, we have to police our own communities. Police are way outnumbered. In Jefferson County, we have, I think it's 280 officers right now.
Yeah, and we have 238,000 residents in Jefferson County.
Yeah, and like 280 officers,
Yeah.
And you got to think about the shifts they have. So you really only have, 100 or so on duty at a time. So it is up to the citizens to help take care of our communities and look out. And where we're at, we're actually somewhere that's the way it is. And, you can count on your neighbors, but it needs to be that way everywhere.
With where we live, if I would have shot that guy in the parking lot, I probably would not have been arrested.
You probably wouldn't have seen cuffs.
No,
right. Missouri has castle laws, right?
Oh yeah, we have strong You're legally allowed to defend yourself with deadly force anywhere you're legally allowed to be.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with the area. I am familiar with a lot of Missouri, but I'm not exactly familiar with that area. Are you guys seeing a lot of crime? Is it crime pretty low, or is it
Violent crime is fairly low. You know, there's always going to be drugs, there's always going to be car break-ins, but violent crime is fairly low, I would say, here compared to places with comparable populations.
Yeah, we have. Well, Jefferson County has a comparable population to St. Louis City, and they probably have 100 times the violent crime we have, or more. But where we're at, people know don't screw around, you know, because everyone's carrying, you know.
right?
Like the only reason my brother probably wasn't carrying was because
I
he was in a
was.
bar.
No, I was carrying that night because I had permission from the owners and I wasn't drinking.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought about shooting that guy, and looking back at it, I should have. Because then that wouldn't have happened to that poor lady, but it shouldn't have came to that point. I don't feel that it should have. But
Right.
like Missouri's so open with this stuff, uh, you know, over the last 5 or 6 years, and this had a lot to do with Eric Burleson. In Missouri, you don't even need a permit to conceal carry. You know, if you're legally allowed to own a gun in the state of Missouri, you're legally allowed to carry it concealed.
Right. Yeah, Georgia's an open carry state, and I see people with guns all the time or whatever. It's you can just have them or whatever. I think they were trying to do that nationally too. If I'm not mistaken, it was
Yeah,
like,
it's been brought up time and time again to try to do it nationally.
I
But
think it
then
was
you'll,
Mike Lee maybe that was trying for that. I'm not sure, but
I'm getting some static on here. Is that you or is that Brandon?
I can hear it too.
Okay. All right, not
Yeah.
a big deal. I was just curious. But no, I appreciate you having me on and bringing light to this because, like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm involved in local politics quite a bit. I talk a lot of politics. I've watched what happens in different places, what works and what doesn't work, and what the big issues are. And you know, for 4 years, we had our gates open to where anybody could come in. And you know, under the current Trump administration, for the first time in American history, we're losing more legal immigrants than we're gaining, and that has to do with ICE and self deportations and this and that. But we got to do more, and it starts with each individual citizen um, carrying out their responsibilities. You know, that's kind of what I feel like, how I feel it should go. Um, and then the other part, what's crazy is after I posted that video, the first video before the second thing happened, thousands of people attacked me for being a racist. You only did that because he was brown or whatever. No, I did that because he was breaking into cars. And
Yeah.
honestly, had he been white, I would have beat him in the parking lot. But there were 30 people watching and recording. And had I beat that guy in the parking lot, I didn't know if people were recording, and it would have been turned into I beat him because he was Mexican or Guatemalan or whatever. Uh, at the end of the day, no, I did that because he was breaking the law, and he was doing it in front of me, and he was doing it where I was at.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, well, I think we're kind of glitching out here a little bit, but yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in here, clearing the air. This should get some good views overnight, and I'll post some clips of it on TikTok and on my other platforms too, and get the truth out there, honestly, so that I know that can be frustrating that your story is getting grabbed by all these different people and they're saying the wrong thing or whatever, and it's not exactly how it happened. So I thank you for clearing the air. I thank you for doing what you did, and then also thank you for your service. Seriously.
Yeah, we'll both.
Thank you for your service as well, brother.
Well, I'm starting to lose you.
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I'm starting to lose you guys. So I'll go ahead and end it. But thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. If you ever need anything, reach out, and we'll do some more shows, and we can talk some vet stuff too.
Yeah, that sounds good, brother. Look forward to it.
All right, brother. All right. Well, there you have it. We had a little technical difficulties that happen sometimes, but really just really interesting story, and it's super frustrating for us to hear about it. And after Arena Zarutska, we've seen several instances of this in New York City. We're seeing it in North Carolina. Just these failures of our law enforcement, our Department of Justice, to hold these guys accountable and to keep them from preventing future crimes. Right? We just see it happening over and over and over again, and it just can't happen in America. So I thank him for coming in here. I thank everybody that came in here and made comments. Jim Carroll, appreciate you for making lighten up the chat for us, brother. I appreciate you, and thank you for everybody watching who reposted, shared, and we'll see you next time. All right, have a good night.